Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into this week's Feature Photographer of the Week. I'm here with Sam, the owner of 88 Photo. To give you a little background on myself, my name is Dustin Lucas. I am the co-owner of Evolve Edits. My wife and I purchased this business a little over 2 years ago from Sal Sincata. Sal has owned the Evolve brand, the Evolve company for over a decade. I've worked with him for that entire time, helping kind of shape the business and where we are today. But today it's about Sam and his business and learning as much as we can about being an entrepreneur and his come up. Sam, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, like you said, man, my name's Sam. I live in Cleveland, Ohio, at least suburb of Cleveland. A wedding studio out here for the better part of 12 years. We've got kind of a broad background, obviously portraiture, you can see from behind me, but yeah, originally from California, living in Ohio now, and chasing the dream, if nothing else.
Sure. California to Ohio, was that like a move for family, for business? You moved there before doing photography, or you started photography in California?
No, so the move here was actually, I was a baby. I was young.
Oh, okay.
I didn't have to wait and consulting my parents on where we were living. But
sure.
In a blue birth certificate. So at the very least, I get like a cool accolade behind my name for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, pretty much raised in Ohio, business there, Cleveland. What is the, let's talk about like kind of your start into photography. Were you art student, working retail job, sales, jumped into photography? Where does the start of 88 Photo come from?
So it's interesting because I feel like a lot of people have this really cool backstory of like, I was born to be an artist or born to be
sure. Yeah.
Mine's quite different, man. I think I was born to be a troll. Like I just like instigating.
Okay.
Find a job to where if you can create these genuine organic reactions and scenarios,
sure.
and all of a sudden it's a good thing. But no, the short story is when I was like in my teens, like 15, 16, like MySpace was big and the Tumblrs and Zynga.
We were all coding back then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can get these images, we were going to Image Shack and we were coding. I mean, it was a big deal.
We were smarter than we knew. That's for sure. But skateboarding was real big, that and music. And effectively the way that we would kind of show that off is you'd want to take pictures and post them in social media.
Yep.
As you get older, that kind of evolved to kind of like a retail portrait studio job. It was mostly, but if nothing else, it kind of pushed me into learn to interact with people and just kind of walk through a process that was a little more seamless. Inevitably, when you own a camera, somebody gets married. And I was kind of pushed into that.
Yeah.
It was cool. Honestly, it was probably not my greatest moment. I shouldn't even say probably. It was horrible. Weddings were one of the scariest things in the world that I ever did, but there was enough to capture me. People doing different things. And formalities kind of being the same. So there's enough consistency to get good and efficient at something, but enough surprises and kind of like wild cards to keep it interesting. But I was in the studio for 4 or 5 years. That evolved into the weddings. I went full time in 2014. And from there, we started hanging up flowers and American flags and taking pictures here too. So right, for sure.
So 2014 weddings, when did the brick and mortar studio come up? Or is this like a section of the house? Are you working like at home, or do you have a brick and mortar studio?
This is a brick and mortar studio. It's the same city I live in, so it's not far.
Okay.
My initial departure, actually, when I got married back in 2012, I connected with the DJ company that was hired to do my wedding, and they wanted to start a photo company, and I effectively kind of became the head of that.
Oh, okay.
That company ended up kind of falling under, just kind of like disassembling. And at that point in time, I branched out and I kind of did my own thing. And I was fortunate enough to have it pan out well.
So, yeah, I mean, kind of coming under, not necessarily under somebody's wing, but coming into an organization, building that up and then running your own thing. I mean, I think as a solopreneur, whatever you want to call that, when you're running that business as creative, understanding the business side and adjusting to that is always, kind of secondary. I mean, like you said, you didn't have this origin story of like, I knew I was going to be an artist. When I saw the world, it was in rule of thirds. All that like bullshit artist stuff, which I think is important to have passion and it exists in that 20% reality of what we do. The other 80% where you're working on the business, you're out generating revenue, marketing, working with customers, customer service with a smile, as they say. So jumping into weddings, let's talk about you navigating COVID, the explosion of weddings because the world was shut down. Maybe Ohio is different than Illinois. We don't have to get into politics, but we kind of shut down. We got kicked out of our studio, which was insane. Working from home was like, no way. You can't do remote when you're transferring like multiple gigs of files on everyone's base level internet. Talk to me about what the Cleveland market, your business, what things you did during COVID and up into today, and still have a kind of roller coaster effect.
COVID, different lifetime at this point. We're rewatching, Jersey Shore, and the episodes that they went through COVID, watching the way that we operate, or especially they operated. It's intriguing to say the least, but. As far as we were concerned, it was insane. So to add a deeper level of complexity, my wife was actually like pregnant at the time, like super pregnant.
Okay.
We're navigating like that personal thing on top of, do I have a job anymore? Are these people to get married? Is it even possible?
Mm-hmm.
The biggest hurdle for me, I think, was trying to create any sort of predictability. So what I did is I wanted to reach out. So I think most people will find comfort in predictability.
Absolutely.
And customer relations, that's huge. So my thing is I reached out to a lot of local vendors here in Cleveland. I thought if we had somewhat of a unified front, or at least some type of standard that we could create along the way, was probably going to be the best move. But what I did is I reached out to everybody before they got out to me. Because inevitably, we knew it was coming.
Mm-hmm.
So basically what we did is we created a web page. We sent it out to everybody. Hey, here's what we're going to do in terms of rescheduling. And basically just kind of addressed everything head on. I don't know that people really cared much about specifics. Like they cared more about how they felt. Like they wanted to make sure people were doing everything that they could.
Yeah,
I think that's what we did, and we kind of over-explained everything. In terms of navigating it, though, like everybody else, man, we had a lot of time off, and we concentrated more on the back end. So we did a lot of website building, a lot of automations.
Sure.
Frankly, I think we kind of built our relationship with you guys probably even a little deeper right around that time as well, just to kind of make sure that when things did get nutty again, so we kind of took it as a little bit of a vacation time.
Okay.
What else? There was another part of that question I think I missed, concentrating on just that.
Up until today, right? So, I feel like 2020 pause, you're getting government checks, what's going to happen? And then, they're like, stay home, spend money. Oh, there's too much money. Stop spending. And then we had this, like, the world came back online. And I say that lightly. Texas and Florida was like, what do you mean? We were always online. For the rest of us that were forced, it kind of couldn't even do porch portraits without getting chastised locally or kicked out of a park for playing soccer with your kid. It was a weird time. But 2021 world came back online. Like I feel like UK as well as in that June, and then everyone was just kind of sitting on weddings. Where has it been in the business? Have you felt like, prior to the election year and all that last year, did you feel like it's been more of a roller coaster effect? Do you guys feel like you've always had kind of like a steady stream of customers and, there's like, instead of growth, you're just kind of plateauing on the number of weddings and things like that? How has that been like the past couple years for you?
So the transition out of COVID has been insane, mostly because, again, kind of going back to the idea of predictability, are almost non-existent because you have pre-COVID, during COVID, and then now this weird transition with dynamically different things affecting everybody. And some people, like we noticed a lot of our clientele ended up being like first responders. So it was like nurses and cable guys. Like flush with cash because they were working so much.
Absolutely.
Other people like they have like normal jobs, like corporate stuff, probably not. But in terms of how it reflected in my business and kind of all that stuff, they were huge years, like coming out of COVID, like that 21, 22, 23 even. 24 has been an interesting year. Excuse me, 5 has been an interesting year. Booking trends, I think, are very different. So I don't know that we've necessarily lost business or that like the actual bottom line has been affected. But of our clients booking later and closer to the events.
Sure. And I think, like you said, lack of predictability. We're going to kind of sit and wait. Maybe it's I've heard, a lot of people talk about, well, the kids are paying. The kids tend to be a little less, long-term planning and more short-term,
Sure.
and the parents are involved financially. So they go to the venue. Well, what used to be $50 a head is now 120. Well,
Yep.
right. And then you're like, unless you've done a good job in the community and you've created that really good referral system and good relationships that people are coming from past clients of yours to come and book with you, they're talking to you like towards the end of their wedding budget journey.
For sure.
And it's kind of like, so how much money do you have left? Because when the wedding's over, all your money's gone, kind of a thing. So you're like, where's my post sales? So I want to jump into, you starting out, what kind of format you had, were you a shoot and burn, an online sales, IPS right out the get? Where did you kind of start? Where have you guys moved into? I mean, you have a brick and mortar studio. I'm assuming you're doing some sort of sales with your clients, but talk about that journey, because I think that's so massively underrated. Like people are like, oh, I only sell a la carte. Everything else is stupid. If you're not doing IPS, you're an idiot. I do online sales and I make like 10 grand from pick time. Like there's all these different needs and lifestyles of business. What does yours look like?
Yeah. So probably to preface it too, like every market's going to be super different.
Mm-hmm.
Cleveland market, it's got like, from what I've experienced, at least, and a lot of like my friends around here, there's definitely like a wall, like a certain price you can charge. When you go beyond that point, there's significant more feedback. And obviously budgets and cultures will kind of dictate what
do you mean by that? Significant more feedback? You mean when you charge 10 grand for a wedding there, like the clients are assholes and they want everything to be perfect? Or what do you mean by that kind of ceiling part?
No, I don't know that there's necessarily like a correlation with people being dicks and people being cool with the amount of money.
Okay.
I'm sure they're probably haven't experienced it enough.
Okay.
On my end though, it seems like the wall here, like people will kind of happily spend $3, $4, $5 grand. Once you crest that $5,000 mark, at least with us, if there's not things included or like reasons to justify it, and we're talking strictly service here,
Mm-hmm.
It just seems like there's a lot more explaining, or there's a lot more hesitancy.
Okay.
For whatever reason, it's just that seems to be the wall here.
Okay.
But again, like I'm sure there's photographers that charge quadruple what we do. There's people that charge.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be different, of course, like you said, in every market.
Yeah. But anyways, back to the question that you had asked in terms of like IPS and all that kind of sale. Initially, when I worked for the portrait studio, everything was like shoot it and sell it immediately. It wasn't going to 30 minutes later.
Same day sales for sure.
Yeah. So that was great. And honestly, they had like a built out software that would walk us through that process.
Right.
It was super streamlined. Leaving there and starting my own thing, I wanted to be everything to everybody. So I was shooting a billion photos per session, delivering as many that
sure.
You're in focus.
Family session. Here's 500. And you're like, what do I do with all the pictures? I'm like, it doesn't matter. You have a ton of pictures. You're going to love it. Yeah.
In my head, the volume meant value. So people were going to see that and get excited.
Sure.
Obviously, I think I've since learned differently, or at least like I've shifted my thoughts on that. But as it sits now, with the studio here, we've kind of dual purposed it. There's obviously sets put up everywhere. And it's before I jumped on this call, I was looking around. I'm like, is there anything controversial or weird laying around? Plinko board, I think, is the most controversial thing.
Oh, there it is, Plinko.
Yeah. Nice. But ultimately, the in-person sales that we offer here, the opposite side of the studio over here is clad in wood and glass and aluminum prints. There's tons and tons of stuff that people come in, put their hands and eyes on. We try to build value at the initial sale. Afterwards, there's a whole secondary process that we'll walk through in terms of, hey, photos are done. Here's what your picture is going to look like on a 50 by 50 glass print. Yeah. But I think the thing that's been most valuable for us is making connections after the initial sale and reminding people, hey, these albums are awesome, offering incentives and paths to purchasing these things later.
Sure.
But when we get to the back end of stuff, we're not surprising them like, hey, here's all this other thousands of dollars worth of stuff you should buy. They're kind of to know that's coming already.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it sounds like you have a pretty heavy hand in marketing. I mean, you're nurturing them, during, with sale ones, options. I mean, offering, right? It's like going to a lab. And I think it's something that a lab struggles with a little bit more than maybe a photographer or even us in our services. I mean, we've got, 15 to 20 options for photographers. And I'm still explaining to them, like, look, we do everything from shoot to you making money, either sales or client delivery. Like that's selection, color correction, cropping, picking creative. I mean, everything in between. They're like, oh, okay. And it's like all those options are on the order form, right? We're sending all this messaging out, but sometimes it just, it's how you message it and painting that picture and then a constant reminder in their inbox all the time. And for a lab, right, they got thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of options. You go there and you're just like, what do I want? Oh, albums. Okay, I want albums. Well, they have 10 albums. Okay, well, what's the cheapest app, right? And then you just start, you're almost like a consumer, right? When they go to a wedding wire or go to a site and there's just a billion photographers on there, right? And it's like, oh, filters and pricing and all these things. Like the best thing you can do, like you said, when you can control is here's what we offer, here's what to expect, right? From every stage. So when they're thinking about booking with you, you got to talk about outfits and timeline and all this stuff about the shoot, right? About the shoot. Then you have the shoot. Hey, here's, there's going to be a preview of your images. Here's some of our pricing so that way you can financially prepare, like all that stuff, getting them easily getting them to the register, making some money at the end of the day. And then they're happy, right? They're happy with the options. And you gave them all the options at appropriate times, not overwhelmed them with all of that stuff. So in talking about the sales journey and customers, and you guys have always done, well, at least in the past 2-3 years when things open back up, everything's been in-person sales. Are you doing same-day sales with your portrait clients like you learned from the retail shop? Are you doing next week sales with your clients? Is it a little more loose? Like they come, hey, let us know when you're ready. What does that process look like for your portrait clients?
The portrait stuff is definitely like a toned down version of the wedding stuff.
Okay.
Speaking, anything that we're going to sell on portrait stuff is usually done like at point of sale. We'll kind of develop hey, what's the point of the photos? Are we celebrating something? We've got photos we're putting together for a birthday party. At that point, we'll talk about, cool, do you want to give some of these to somebody? Are they using them as decor? And frankly, a lot of our studio sessions will be part of like a larger scale sale. So do like 3, 6, 9 month packages or
milestone stuff.
Like subscription-based service in the sense that like you'll pop in every few months or every so often. That way people aren't, again, surprised by, hey, after we just took all these pictures and my 2-year-old ripped my glasses off and broke my tooth, now I have to buy stuff and look through photos. Precondition, but we'll send out an email afterwards to a webpage that'll kind of walk people through, hey, here's the stuff that we offer. Here's recommendations on like different formalities or different celebrations. But we don't people directly after. I think you wrap up a session with small kids or even large groups of people.
They're ready to go.
Yeah. The last thing you want to do is talk about buying stuff and wrangling your baby.
Well, the kids are getting hangry, and it's like, well, they just ate 2 hours ago, and you're like, they're animals. That's what they have to eat. Snacks during the session. Well, so back to kind of weddings and the approach that you have with your clients. Where have you found the majority of your clients are today? Like, have you feel like it's more attracting budget and middle tier clients? Is it the same middle tier and higher clients, or maybe, where has it shifted with the types of clients that you're getting, in terms of leads and booking, and what's that majority look like? Because I think that's a really interesting conversation for a lot of wedding studios. I'm hearing a lot of people talk about, we used to be 60-40, 60% higher end, 40% budget. Now it's flipped, or it's starting to creep even worse, 70% budget, price shopping. They're running around. Where's that gone with your business over the past 2 years?
I think our clients are honestly more venue dependent. We've been fortunate enough to develop these like great relationships with venues here in the area. Fortunate for me, a lot of these venues are higher end venues.
Okay.
I think that naturally will drive people with higher budgets here. Initially, my wife would make fun of me because she said that I would specialize in big brides and awkward grooms. And I don't know. But joking aside, like I think that initially started to where I was so concerned about getting business that I wasn't concerned about finding things that would match brand or match my personality to where I could actually add value to weddings.
Yeah.
Now, when clients come in, they're familiar with venues. They've seen a ton of my work. and it's now based on how can I make them feel. Are they confident in what I can do? Do they think they'll have to babysit me through stuff? In terms of percentages, though, so our prices, our median is probably going to land somewhere in like the $3,800 to $4,500 range. It's probably land. In the Cleveland market, that's probably like mid to upper tier.
Okay.
So it's a lot of those people will come from venues. Social media has been a real big thing for us lately.
Oh, okay.
TikTok is oddly enough becoming that, and Reddit have become somewhat of an interesting filter that I wasn't expecting.
Huh. Okay.
Reddit especially, I feel like that's the dark horse of the internet, which like all of a sudden has become a thing.
Sure. I mean, people are on there, just forums for business and, trash talking. And I mean, it's, keyboard warriors on there. So from TikTok, I mean, makes, kind of makes sense, and people utilizing that. What on the Reddit side has been good for, for social media and you guys like converting a Reddit, comment or something to a paying customer?
So the first I heard about us being on Reddit was maybe like a year and a half ago. A client came in and the natural question, right? Where did you find us? And popped into a Reddit forum. I think it was just like a generic Cleveland one. I don't even think it was like wedding based.
Sure.
And what I've realized from Reddit is anytime like I need actual advice that I'm like, hey, I want like the real review. That's usually where I go. And it's like, I'm not the only one that thinks that way, at least around here. The way that converts though is we've had people, and we've been fortunate, people say great stuff about us there.
Okay.
Now I've been logging into these forums, finding like just search out like wedding photographer to see anybody looking for it. Built on communication. I think people actually keep returning in short intervals to see reactions and responses. So it's a little more hands-on than posting to Instagram and hoping somebody follows that path to a contact form.
Sure.
The idea is always find conversation and then become a part of it. And that's effectively what that's become.
And that's never been like, because I just think about, from the process of like, you're going in there, you're having a conversation, you're not an individual like them. You're a kind of a soft sales there, right? Like, so they you also, if you're gaining that trust and you're advising them on things up front and they haven't spent a buck with you, right? There's also that kind of like, hey, it's self-serving to a certain extent, but if you're going in there and offering just genuine advice and you have history with that in those forums, when I think of a forum like that, I think of like Red Ocean. Like it's just a race to the bottom bloodbath for someone's like, I'll do it for 500. I'll do it for 400. I'll do your wedding for $350. I'll even hand you the memory card afterwards. Right. It's like, I just wonder if, to say Reddit is a singular thing. I mean, it's the large Zanga space or live journal space of comment, but
groups have definitely become that. Where it's like people jumping over each other and like cutting their own legs off.
Yeah, exactly. They're like,
I don't know if Reddit has become is that yet. It's definitely going to be that.
Okay. Because there's those freelancer sites, right? Where a bride goes on and goes, hey, I need a wedding photographer. Our budget's like $1,500. 37 comments later, she gets it down. She goes, cool. $1,100. Nailed it. Thanks, Debbie. It's just like
great for the industry. But at the same time, it's like, we all started somewhere, and I think a lot of these people are more so like, hey, I'll do it for free. I'll pay to do it. Inevitably, once you build a portfolio, you now have marketing material.
That's fair.
I think where it becomes sketchy is when you have like established vendors setting a precedent. And then now, the last thing I'll ever want to do is let competition dictate my value.
Yes, 100%.
You kind of have to separate yourself there. But yeah, Reddit's it's a weird thing. It's one of the most bizarre places that I've ever been a part of in terms of marketing.
Right. You're the first person that says, all my time goes into, usually it's like, I'm going to drop $500 on Facebook, a month. And if I can book one wedding from that, right, the value is there.
Yeah.
If I can generate, 10 to 20 emails in those leads, that's the game there, there in Instagram. And then you have your email list and all those things, but as a lead generator, and then, Google AdWords and running there. It's funny. Some of our biggest customers have gotten us from Google search, right? And it's kind of like people are coming from all these different spaces. You just want to be, of course, active online, be in their inbox once you receive that email, unless they unsubscribe.
Yeah.
You just want to be ready when they're ready, right? With those kind of
I
things.
need to work on that, I think. 'Cause obviously, like SEO, like organic SEO or paid SEO is insanely powerful.
Yeah.
With wedding shows, we've got 2 wedding shows that we do locally here. One of them's like a huge one, other one's a little smaller. But for me, it's if I can connect with people, I feel like that's where it starts to come from.
Sure.
Seeing my work online, and nobody wants to admit it, but like, you can be the greatest photographer in the world. There's 10 other people that are equally as good. People aren't going to remember the quality of work. Very rarely do they remember something insanely specific to you.
Right.
We want to meet with them so you can make them feel a certain way. And again, people feel comfort, they'll feel happiness. Hey, there's value that this person can add to it. So every path for me is just finding a way to physically be in front of somebody and then present the brand. So those wedding shows are great for us. With the Reddit stuff, I can obviously talk to people directly. Same with social media.
Interesting.
So it's, again, I think my big sale is more so with me speaking with people directly as opposed to, hey, here's 88 photo, here's 5 pictures from this last wedding. I think for me that's been more powerful, at least to date.
Interesting. So to kind of recap and to talk a little bit, kind of in summary and everything that we've talked about, because my brain's going into like, oh, you wedding shows, you do enter to wins, what's that, that relationship and all that kind of stuff. But I think that, we've had this is probably the longest conversation we've had. Typically we're, kind of going back and forth in email or, hey, when's this job going to be due? And things have been very much like, simple in that. I mean, if we were talking all the time, it's either we just like to chat or a lot of problems. You just kind of focused on the work. But however, I mean, I love getting to, better know your background, the business, the family, the come up. I think that, through that relationship, it's, where people working together and, we forget instead of just business to business relationships, you're working constantly, having those relationships and with your vendors and everyone that's surrounding you in those teams. I think, all those, you have to surround yourself with good people and having a thriving business. And so, again, I want to thank you for your time and sharing everything, about your business. And I'm happy to hear that, things are going well. And as we're, kind of navigating through into next year and bookings, I think everything that you said has touched on where a lot of wedding photographers, that predictability, it's nice. Where are you pivoting when predictability goes down? What, are you opening up other lines of business as weddings are a little less, don't seem as, hey, I'm booking 3 to 6 months out. I used to book 12 to 18 months out. So where's revenue in that, that 6 to 12 month area, right? You're afraid to book in the fall because, well, I'm slammed in weddings in the fall. I'm afraid to take on family sessions. Worst case scenario, you book the families, a bunch of weddings come online, and now you can subcontract out or bring another photographer in to shoot for you. These are all things. Don't say no to money. Don't be afraid to grow your business. Those are all fun things as entrepreneurs that we're navigating. But thank you again for your time today. And everybody, we'll be doing the Feature Photographer of the Week weekly here. And so again, thank you to Sam and 88 Photo, and we'll catch you guys next time. Thank you so much.